We got an all-time classic moment at the Dome for the Dirt Late Model Series. Noah Gragson and William Sawalich just don't like each other. Plus, we have a few Xfinity Series rides to announce. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Turns out using summer tires in the winter, granted it has not snowed yet, but the cold temperatures, not the best idea I've ever had. Didn't wreck anything, didn't do anything. Took the Blackwing out, about 19 degrees out, 18 degrees somewhere in there. And yeah, in second gear, you just touch the gas and we're spinning the tires. So very much need tire warmers, or I just need to stop being lazy and take the car down and have the all-season tires put on so it goes forward. But I was like, it can't be that bad, right? Wrong. I was very wrong in this situation. But let's get into what we need to talk about that happened on Friday night at the Dome. So when the Dirt Late Model Series heads indoor to the Dome in St. Louis, it's a bit like taking Bowman Gray Stadium, moving it indoors and, well, running it on dirt. And we got an all-time classic moment on Friday when Dakota Smith, who by all accounts wrecked himself on the front stretch and caused a multi-car pileup, proceeded to get out of the car and sprint down the front stretch at the Dome in a 40-yard dash that he physically was not prepared for, because by the time he got to the competitor that he wanted to, voice his displeasure with, my guy needed an oxygen tank like he was an NFL lineman who just picked up a fumble and tried to return it for a touchdown. And he's sitting there gasping, trying to use all the energy that he has to rip the visor off of the other driver. That's a move I have not seen yet at all. I think there's probably some other things that he probably could just reach in the car and pulled some wires and really have disrupted the night. But ripping a visor off, hey, yeah, go for it. Didn't work for him. Eventually, the track workers showed up like their Spectrum within a 4-hour window, and they get there and they finally are able to be like, all right, stop, because you're using a whole lot of energy. You're doing nothing. It looked a lot like John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher when they had their fight, and everybody just kind of stood back and was like, they're doing a whole lot of something and a whole lot of nothing all at the same time. And that's what we saw happen here. I also saw somebody on the internet refer to him as John West Heavy, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, he is a bit of a bigger boy. But yeah, if you're going to do that, you got to go down there with some purpose. And hey, shout out to the booth for pulling out a super bad line where they're like, he's the fastest kid alive. He wasn't. He was very much moving in slow motion. It was so slow that the cameraman was able to perfectly frame it and get the perfect cinematic shot of this guy, Dakota Smith, running down the straightaway at the Dome. Listen, I know the Rams used to play there. They were the greatest show on turf. I don't think Dakota Smith's going to be the greatest show on dirt, but hey, he went out there and tried to make a name for himself. And that's kind of something that happens at the Dome here. You have your professionals, your Bobby Pierces, your Nick Hoffmans, Overton, who's the other guy that just Jonathan Davenport. Those guys are out there trying to win the race, trying to, this is what they do for a living. You have some of these smaller guys come up and race this race because it's a big event, right? And they try to create these viral moments like this, and you're like, okay, I mean, while funny, probably not the best representation for dirt late model racing. The European mind simply cannot comprehend a hefty boy like that taking off running down the straightaway to do what he did, which was kind of nothing at the end of the day. So yeah, I haven't seen somebody use that much energy and do such little damage since Clint Boyer walked up to Ryan Newman at the All-Star race and rock'em socked him through the window, and Newman was like, what was that even for? Didn't feel a single thing. Either way, just an all-time funny moment to come out of the Dome on Friday night. Moving into the Snowball Derby, 2 big events happening this weekend. You got the Dome finishing up on Saturday. You got Snowball Derby on Sunday, both on Flow Racing. Highly recommend Flow Racing services. I know we all crapped on them after the South Carolina 400 at Florence when that broadcast was absolutely atrocious, but the Dome looked great. Snowball Derby has looked great so far this year as well. Both of those are big races. Into the Snowball, though. Noah Gragson, William Sawalich. The two of them just don't get along at all. And they had a run-in in practice on Thursday at Five Flags down in Pensacola for literally no reason. 30 car of Noah Gragson is out there on a race run. The 62 of William Sawalich on a car entered by KHI comes up on him on a pace or on a qualifying run and just moves the 30 car of Noah Gragson up and out of the way. And afterwards, Gragson went down, voices his pleasure with Sawalich, and then talked to Flow Racing afterwards and referred to him as a dip dot. And I think that's a pretty good nickname for William Sawalich. Sawalich has talent. I talked about him here on this channel enough. I think the kid has talent. I'm not as high on him as other people are. I think that when he gets the Xfinity Series, he's going to be there. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to contend for multiple race wins. Maybe a guy like Sammy Smith. That might be the best comparison I have for him. But I just don't have that much faith in him going forward as it currently stands. Gragson, though, he's been around long enough. He's started the Snowball Derby 6 times. He won it back in 2018. He has 2 top 10 finishes in the race. Sawalich made his first start in the Derby last year, started 26th, drove up to 10th. Really good improvement there from him. Sawalich qualified 3rd for Sunday's race. Gragson qualified back in, I believe, 26, maybe actually, 26, 28, somewhere in that range as well. So the two of them are kind of opposite ends of the field, and they'll probably at some point have a run-in on Sunday, at least be around each other. But yeah, I just have never been a big fan of causing problems in practice. That just seems short-sighted to me, especially at a track like Five Flags, a late model race where, rubbing is racing. You're going to get penalized if you intentionally dump somebody, but why create enemies early in the week already? It just seems short-sighted. And Sawalich is 18 years old. I get it. You're not making the best decisions all the time out there. But for Gragson, completely understand why he's upset about it, because again, it's practice, dude. You're not Earnhardt and Gordon out here. You have one guy on a race run, one guy on a qualifying run. And for Sawalich, he could have created a gap there to where he wasn't going to run into the 30 car. So yeah, I think it's, a lot of war of words before, the actual race comes up, but it just feels like something that probably could have been avoided by specifically probably the 62 of Sawalich there, since he was the one that came up and did the hitting of Gragson. So we'll see what happens with the two of them on Sunday. Ty Majeski's on pole, which is bad news for literally everybody else in the field. And then we have to get into our driver announcements that came out this week. We had 3 Xfinity Series rides announced. We'll start off with Jordan Anderson Racing. Obviously, Parker Retzlaff has moved on from the team. Where he ends up at, who knows? Maybe he'll be inspired next year to hop into a ride. We'll see what happens with him. But over at Jordan Anderson Racing, you have Jeb Burton returning back to the 27 car. Golden Corral's on it. He'll probably have his sponsors that he brings with him as well. I believe this will be his 4th season with the team. He, of course, got a win with them at Talladega. So Jeb Burton back with the team. Who will be driving the 31 car replacing Parker Retzlaff? That would be Blaine Perkins. Perkins moves into the best full-time ride he's likely had in the Xfinity Series. We'll see what he can do on a full season basis. I think both of those cars are fringe playoff contending cars. They're going to run probably in the teens most weeks. But, they have the opportunity to go to a super speedway and win a race like that. They have the opportunity to go to a road course and finish really well on top of that. So I think there's some opportunities there for Blaine Perkins moving forward. We also got an announcement from DGM, who will be changing the number of their cars. Obviously, they're typically the 91, 92 cars in the Xfinity Series. Ryan Ellis will join the team full-time next season and will be driving the number 71 car, which is also the number that he used back in his junior days as well. I think that's a really good signing. Ryan Ellis is a guy that goes out there and hustles. He goes out there and gets sponsorship. He knows everything. He knows all the ins and outs of these race cars and these race teams. I think that's a great signing for them. Typically brings the car home in one piece, which is about all you can ask for these days. He's going to maximize the finish of the car without risking the car and destroying it at the same time. So I think all 3 of these signings make total sense. So there's still a couple, seats out there. We'll see what Sam Hunt Racing does with their car, potentially, the second car if they want to bring that out in select races as well. There's a couple other things I think that are floating around that we're still having to just wait and hear what the confirmation is on all of them. Cup Series, obviously Rick Ware Racing is really the only full-time ride that is left open, that being the 51 car. We'll see if Corey LaJoie ends up there. Will somebody else end up there? And then down in the Truck Series, most of the seats are taken up now that I can think of. Obviously, we're still waiting on Spire's announcement. I have a pretty good idea who's going to be over there, but I'm going to wait and kind of confirm who all that's going to be. Expect a number change for one of their cars and kind of them absorbing a team that they had worked with in 2024, kind of absorbing that in-house to bring that car in and not use it as sort of like a partnership alliance that they had been using. So stay tuned for that. Until then, let me know in the comments what you think about the fight at the Dome, Sawalich versus Gragson. I got to get better at saying that. And also the Xfinity rides that were announced this week as well. So like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard until it goes away, probably in the middle of January. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at BreakHardBlog.